Hello, DevOps friends. It's Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm happy to be back. It's another Tuesday, and today is definitely going to be a Ruby Tuesday. Let me check if my tea is drinkable, because I'm a little bit dry. Let me see. Perfecto. Yeah, Ruby Tuesday. Why? Because I'm going to be at the RubyOnConf in Hamburg on the weekend, and I'd like to get in the mood by doing lots of Ruby stuff this week, which will include infrastructure topics and web development and maybe even some game-like development. I'm not going to develop a game per se, but as you might know, I've been working on a network simulation where I can visualize, for example, web traffic. And for this visual simulation, I'm actually using the Dragon Ruby game toolkit because it makes animating stuff on the screen so much easier. And I've been having a lot of fun doing that because it's a grassroots project that I can do completely on my own, where no one tells me what to do and where I can do the full design, especially the object-oriented one, by myself, and that's so much fun. Not having a framework that dictates how to do things and is basically a paint-by-numbers thing. That's the main reason why I've been enjoying this simulation project so much. But also because I can actually see what I'm doing on screen. I twiggle a few parameters and things change on the screen and things like that. So that's really rewarding. And I'll be enjoying this project for quite a while, I think. But there's also work to be done. And as per usual on this stream, everything that I do here is basically part of my daily work. There are no contrived examples or pet projects or things like that. It's all stuff that I actually need for my work, either as the Monospace Mentor, where I do training and workshops for system administration and software engineering, or as the CTO of Freestyle IT, which runs a managed hosting platform for Drupal and WordPress. And that's where today's stream is going to start. I'm going to work on a little bit of infrastructure automation. Recently, I built the infrastructure code to set up the MySQL exporter for Prometheus on our database machines. I've been testing this on our test environment, and it works nicely. And now we need to roll it out in production. And I need to make a slight addition to what's already there, because I want to also get information from the MySQL information schema, which needs to be enabled separately, and so I'll have to make a slight addition to our infrastructure code there. Scott Carey, welcome to the stack. Hello, how you doing? Happy Tuesday to you. And yeah, speaking of people popping into chat, let's not make this a monologue. I do a mentor monologue on a weekly basis because that's part of my newsletter. So if you are interested in my newsletter, and I just realized I'm seeing a few red dots on my stream deck, which means I need to reconnect it to Twitch. Give me just a second so I can hit that particular button that I'm about to hit. Here we go. That's that. So yeah, Mentor Monologue is part of my newsletter, which goes out usually at least every Monday morning. And the Mentor Monologue is part of that newsletter. It's a column that I write on a specific topic that I picked beforehand. these streams shouldn't be a monologue too, so pop into chat if you have any questions or if there's something that you'd like to share. I love it when people share what they are enthusiastic about, maybe an open source project that you've discovered or a new app that you're exploring, things like that. I'm so curious to see what other people do, and I'm happy to talk about what I'm doing. So ask away, share away. You can even share links freely. My only condition is I trust you to post stuff that is actually on topic to this stream, and if it's too far off topic, or hopefully that isn't the case, but may be even offensive, then you'll be banned. All right, so let's see where we are. Here we go. That's the overarching issue that I've created on our GitLab account, and I can actually check off change implemented and change tested, which means that we can actually release this version in production if possible, if there isn't anything else that is in the way, but we'll see about that. So, let me check what we need to do here. Just a second, so I don't actually reveal anything sensitive. Ah, yes. So I just discovered there's something more that I need to do, because here in our roles repository, we are using Chef as our infrastructure as code solution. These two files have been modified by me, but not committed yet. And actually, I'm not even sure if I uploaded them to our Chef server. So let me see, is there... yeah, there is an... The last command was upload Prometheus testing. I need to have a look, but there might be secrets in there, so let's hide this. Let me do a git diff. Wait, what? Oh, these are untracked files. They are completely new, so they haven't even been checked in yet. Okay. Now, let me take a look at those. Because these role files were created by me to simplify our Prometheus setup. So far, we have two Prometheus servers. One is our testing environment server, and the other is the production monitoring server. And both are configured directly on the machines. And by that, I don't mean I logged in manually and made configuration changes, but in our Chef server, I made changes to the parameters of each of these two machines manually. So it's still done by Chef, automate in an automated way, but the attributes that I had to set were set manually for the particular server. And having to edit them online is a little bit of a chore, so I decided to create two role files. Chef usually uses role files to define attributes for a whole group of servers. So, for example, if you have a bunch of web servers, you would have a web role, or if maybe we had a bunch of Prometheus servers in production, not just one, but many, it would, of course, make sense to create a role for these servers and not configure each and every one manually. And trying to keep everything in sync. Moo lol, hello to you too, welcome, happy Tuesday. Even though we only have one monitoring server per environment, a role will still make it easier because I don't have to do some online editing of some attributes in our Chef server. I can simply change a JSON file, upload that file, maybe get a syntax error back because I forgot a comma somewhere or left an extraneous one. So simply for the convenience of being able to edit a file and also commit that to our Git repository so we can actually track changes makes a lot of sense. And apparently I did upload these roles to the Chef server already. Let me simply do a list of those just to be sure. Yes, that the two roles have been uploaded. I can't tell if they have been uploaded in their current status. So what I'll do now, invisibly to you, is upload them again, simply to make sure they're up to date. Okay, now they're both uploaded. And now I'll have to check if the test monitoring server has already been updated to not have the manually configured attributes anymore, but reference the role. I remember faintly that I actually did that, but my memory is pretty flaky when it comes to something that's more than 24 hours off. So let me check that as well. I'll do an edit of our test server. I don't have an alias. I should actually define that alias that I keep using, but keeps failing because it's not defined. Okay, here we go. There is a little bit of Prometheus set in here, but most of the stuff has been removed, and I've added the no, there was something else. I did not add that role, so the role is not in action. What's actually the case is that we have our own Prometheus cookbook in which we already set everything in the correct way. So what I actually want to do is go in my cookbooks directory and check the Prometheus FrySteel cookbook for its version, which is 092. And also, let me refresh my memory what that means. Yeah, I had to fix a search query for the MySQL de-exporter. So we have a minor version 0.9 that introduces the MySQL de-exporter. And after 2 patches, the search query did actually work. And therefore, I can actually remove the role files that started to confuse me. So let me go back to my infrastructure directory where they are still lying around, and we can actually remove the Prometheus JSON and the Prometheus testing 13 chain role. That's not necessary, which is great because even though roles would have been nice to be tracked in Git, having everything in our cookbook repository is even better. So Let me check something else there. Namely, if... Yeah, that's already in testing. This version of the cookbook has already been rolled out in testing because our test environment should have been updated. Let me actually check if that's the case. And since this might be another file that might contain secrets, bear with me, please. So let me see. That's in the environment file. We haven't pinned this version of the cookbook. It's not even listed in our version constraints. Question is, should it be? I think it should. Now, one thing that I'd like to also make sure is that it's not already controlled by our role or our central roles. Cookbook, where it would be controlled in the metadata RB. It is controlled, but only on the minor version level. So we'll roll out everything, or we'll allow here everything that is version 0. We are by now at version 0.9, but that's not a problem because of this operator. So as long as the version starts with 0 dot, this constraint is happy. So that makes sense because on the cookbook level here, we want to prevent breaking changes, which means just controlling the major version, which is pinned to 0 here. But on the environment level, we probably want to control stuff on the minor version level so that we can intentionally roll out feature changes, which happen usually in minor versions, not in the major ones. So I think it would make sense to pin our current version both in production and in testing. And so I'm going to do that. Let me see. We probably already have pinned. Yes, we have pinned it in production to 07 at the moment. So we'll have to do a jump of 2 minor versions to get the MySQL monitoring out. Not to worry. I'm not sure why we haven't jumped to 0.8 yet. But that's something we'll have to investigate once we get to roll out in production, which is going to be soon, actually. I'll add a pin to our test environment as well. And that's going to be 0.9.2. The 2 isn't really significant, but it reflects the current version. if I do a pessimistic version constraint to 0.9.2, then everything that starts with 0.9 will be allowed. So if there's a .3 in the future, it'll be rolled out anyway and used. Okay, and speaking of invalid JSON, I need to add a comma here as well. Now, let me upload this. And let me commit it to Git as well. Okay, that's that. Which means we can now consider our change as tested. Frackberg and Rotten Bites, sorry about that. Welcome to the stack. I didn't see you come in. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Okay, so just praise be to the mute button. Well, if I want to find out why 0.8 hasn't been rolled out yet, I probably should take a look at the changelog of our cookbook and see what 0.8 was all about. It was installation of the MySQL exporter, actually. I think I might well, it's a minor version bump for the scrape job that came after that. I wonder, would it have been valid to add the scrape job as a patch level change, because it still pertains to the whole MySQL exporter thingy, and it was just missing from the initial setup? Because I think I might actually not have read the previous changelog and simply did another minor version bump instinctively after finding out that the scrape job hasn't been implemented. So I never asked me that question. But I think had I been aware that 0.8 was about installation of the MySQL exporter, I probably would have added the scrape job as another patch level change, because these are not really independent changes. They are part of a common feature, and one feature is basically a minor version, I'd say. Well, anyway, that's a moot point anyway. Things are as they are now. So it means we can actually make the jump to 0.9 confidently, because it's going to be all about the MySQL de-exporter anyway. And I think I'm actually going to do that. I'll have to shut you out for another minute or so. Let me make sure that everything is good on the chef server side. Prometheus FireStale 092 has been uploaded. So I'm going to change our environment. Whoops. That wasn't what I wanted to do. So we'll actually replace that with 092. Hmm. 192. That's that. And with that, we can actually consider this change released. But there is another thing that I need to consider, and that's actually that we have a bunch of databases that are not in the official production environment. But I don't think that cookbook is even available in those environments. Let me check if there are which databases I've just affected and which I didn't. Colleague Moo says I'm right about that. So let's do a search to give me all machines that are in the production environment. And have DB in their name. Okay. So yeah, we'll have to do some additional steps to get older databases monitored as well, but that's going to be a little bit more complicated and nothing that I'd like to do on stream. Okay, let me take a look at the other production environment then. They do restrict our MySQL cookbook to a version that's probably quite a lot older. Which means we'll have to update those first. Let me make a comparison. Hey, Balthazar! Good to have you. Happy Tuesday. So let me edit another file. So, yeah. There might actually be some cookbook version conflicts. I'll have to investigate that for a second. Curious how this is going to work out. Okay, it's going to work out nicely. So there shouldn't be a version conflict at this time, at least. That's the good thing about only pinning dependencies down to major version numbers, to simply avoid breaking changes, but letting everything else through. So that proves to be the right dependency constraint strategy there. However, this other environment is quite a while behind.
Can't even see anything.
You're right, Balthazar. But that's intentional for a change. There are a few things that I would rather avoid sharing on screen, so I'm erring on the side of caution here. And that's why I'll actually refund your points. Okay, but I think that's as far as I can get with that particular change. Instead, I'd like to do something else, actually. Because, as I found out, let's pull up the MySQLD exporter page on GitHub. If I want to get specific information from the information schema, I'll have to pass in another command line argument. And I don't think I've implemented the mechanism for that yet. So actually, I'll implement that now. Let me see. There's no issue for that yet. So let's create one, and we call it MySQLD exporter requires additional flags, and the description is if we want to monitor more specific metrics that, for example, come from the information schema, the MySQLD exporter needs to be started with additional Command line flags. Implement a way to pass these in. Okay. And I'm going to work on this, so I'll assign that to me. The labels are, we have a severity of an additional feature. We have a scope of infrastructure as opposed to product. We are not building, building a product feature. It's an infrastructure feature. And in the workflow, we are at the design stage. So I can actually say I've assigned labels. We'll have to create development issues next. And since I've already assigned labels, I can actually remove that. So let's create that issue, which will also give me an issue number that I can now use if I want to work on this directly. Question is, do I have to create development issues, basically subtasks for this, or is this its own issue? I would say it's its own issue, so I'm not going to check this off because there aren't any. I might actually strike this through just to symbolize that it's not necessary. Does that work? Yes, it does. Save changes. Okay. Let's catch up with chat. Balthasar says, assuming you can trust a library to be stable at a certain major minor version. Yes, and since we are talking about our own cookbooks and we have clear conventions how to do semver, that's the case. Who suggests going co-working? I'm not sure. What would change by me switching to co-working mode? Don't see the benefit in this case. I'll have to check another thing. Give me just a sec. There we go. Obsidian isn't a browser. Who knew? Okay. Nice. Okay. Good. Now. That's going to be a change in our Prometheus cookbook. Actually, in the base Prometheus cookbook, I think, because that one is responsible to manage the start of the Prometheus MySQLD exporter. And here we'll have to add additional command line arguments. So let's start doing things by making sure we have up-to-date versions everywhere. we are up to date, and that means I can create a new branch with the issue number 915, MySQL args, or MySQL, well, let's call it MySQL D exporter args. And I'm pretty sure we've solved this same issue for other components of Prometheus already. So let me see if there's anything that I can steal, so we have at least a consistent approach to things. Huh, that's odd. I was pretty sure we already had something like that. But that's my memory for you. Not even the initial setup here has them. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we'll... Actually, I'm going to copy this because it's going to be mostly identical. That's basically the service arguments. No, not serviced args. Service args. Not with a capital S either. And we'll make them an empty array by default. Which means we can now simply go and concatenate those arguments if they're there in our MySQL D exporter systemd file. And that means I'm going to add another backslash here. And something like node Prometheus X MySQL D exporter service args. No, those are really stupid suggestions. No idea where they come from, actually. Service args, and we'll simply join them with a space. And it makes sense to actually test that. So in our test setup, we'll actually pass in a service arg. That happens in this kitchen.yaml file that defines our test setup. And this is going to be a change in the MySQL test suite, where we'll have the settings for the MySQL D exporter, where we set the username and password to access our test database, and here we're going to have our service args as well. We'll make this easily visible as an array, and in this case we are going to use the one thing that I'd like to get here as well, and that's the info schema process list. I want to be able to see which queries are running at any given moment, and for example, alert if this list is getting too long or something like that. I'm not going to collect information about all tables and things like that. I don't see us using that for monitoring. That's more a performance tuning thing. So at the moment, I'm not interested in those details, but getting a current process list is definitely something that I want to be able to. So we'll use that. And I guess this needs to be prefixed by a dash, or is it even a double dash? It's okay, by now it's a double dash. Okay. Wait, let's also see that we can write a test for this. We are actually testing our metrics already live, so I think I should be able to get some kind of a process list metric. But in order to find out how the process list metrics look like, actually, I need to spin up a test instance to see, and then I can add this to this test, and that should be it. So let's spawn a new window here for our test. Actually, I can run this test here as well. So I see. Let's actually go down into source Prometheus X. Now I can list my test suites. I have a MySQL test suite for Ubuntu 20 here. So I'll converge this. This is going to take a minute or two. It'll set up a VM with a test database and Prometheus setup, which means I should be able to curl the metrics endpoint of our MySQL D exporter and then see if there are any process list metrics at all, and if yes, hopefully, how they're called. What they're called. Here's the test cookbook getting executed that sets up the MySQL server. And this test cookbook, of course, only gets exercised in a test environment. It's not going to run in production. In production, we have our own production cookbooks that set up MySQL the way we want it to. Okay, and I think I'll spawn a new pane here to actually log into this instance. And now I'll have to look up how I can get hold of these metrics. That's localhost 9104. So let's do a curl-i localhost 914. and the slash metrics endpoint, and I guess it's a good idea to do a less, because that's going to be a lot of stuff. And let's search for process. That's already a good sign. Here we have some MySQL D exporter collector metadata, MySQL D exporter collector success for info schema process list is 1. So it tried to access the process list information and was successful. That is encouraging. And let's go on searching. And even up here, it tells us that it took 0.005 seconds to actually execute this collection, which is also encouraging because monitoring shouldn't take a lot of time or put additional strain on the service that you want to monitor. So seeing that this is done in 5 milliseconds, that's encouraging as well. But I'm of course interested in seeing the actual metrics. So let's go on and see what we have here. Status commands total. Okay, that's which commands are probably getting executed at the moment. No, that's a total. So on this server, show process list has been executed 0 times, which is not surprising since this is a test instance that has just been started and is not being interacted with. So let's see. Here we have MySQL global status deprecate. No, that's a deprecated value that I'm not interested in. Now MySQL global variables performance schema show process list. That's also nothing that I'm interested in. But this is what I'm interested in. MySQL info schema process list processes by host. Actually not sure what this by host. Oh, that's a breakdown by client server. Huh, interesting. That's more than I expected actually. And there's a process list processes by user, which is even more interesting. So we can actually, if that works as I think it works, we can actually monitor that specific users don't have more processes running than we want them to. It's not that we can limit it that way, but we can get monitoring alerts or at least warnings if a user, say, has 20 concurrent queries running. That's really useful. Let's see what else is there. We have process list, process by user. That's a gauge, yeah. And that's 1. I'm surprised that there's even a 1, I think. That might have actually been the show process list command executed by the MySQL D exporter itself. So the only process list entry at that point must have been the monitoring system itself gathering data. And then there's MySQL info schema process list seconds, the number of seconds threads have used, split by current state. I don't understand that. Split by current state? Interesting. Oh, okay. Wow, the information schema really has a few surprises. So I can actually see that the process list has a command daemon in the state waiting on empty queue. Split by current state means as many states as there are, as many metrics we get back here. And there's another command daemon state waiting on empty queue1. That's basically the same thing as before, just not with 63. Okay. Let's see if there's more. Maybe we should simply do a grep process list and then do a less. That way, we don't have to skip all kinds of stuff. That's pretty much it. Okay, I'm really curious to see how these metrics will look in action on actually on an active database. I could run some kind of a benchmark or something to make this test database busy, but I think it's okay if we just verify that things are set up the way we want them to, and then roll this out in testing, because we do have an active testing database. Because I'm actually running the Monospace Mentor website on this testing database. And that just shows you how much of dog fooding I'm doing here. Well, that means I think I should check for this line here. And we'll have to escape these quotes. And wait. What's this then? Ah, that's the should match. Okay. No. No, it's not. Is it? I think there was some auto pairing here. Should match this string. Yeah. Now let's run that test, shall we? Let's go up here, and instead of TKC, we'll run TKV, which means verify. So it'll run all tests on this test instance. And it actually does MySQL exporter collector success with collector collect info schema process list. Amazing. In other words, we can actually release that. Again, there's the question, is this a new feature? Is this a patch level change? It's a minor version change because it adds functionality that can break, even though there is a test that shows that it doesn't seem to. It's going to be a minor version bump. So let's do a rake bump minor. And let's also update our changelog then. So we have V140 with today's date 0604, where we've added features from issue number 905, no, 915. Add Kent Photography. Hello, how are you doing? Add allow additional command line arguments for MySQL D exporter. Okay. And while we are running an ad over on Twitch, let's do a test run. So I can, wrong window. So I can be sure that I didn't break anything. I did break. Well, I did not break anything, but apparently we've updated Rubocop in the time being. And yeah, there's a little bit of, oh, it's all about quotes, isn't it? Uh-huh. And I think we'll have to make an exception for this repeat descriptions, because that's how Test Kitchen works. We can't just exclude those all the time. Over on YouTube, Kent asked, what am I doing? I'm, at the moment, in general, I'm doing Ruby programming because I like to psych myself for Ruby Unconf Hamburg, which I'm going to visit over the weekend. And this particular kind of Ruby is called Chef. Chef is an infrastructure as code tool. So my company runs a managed hosting platform. We've started in 2010, so we've been running for a while. So at this point, we've accumulated hundreds of Linux servers that we are running, and we can't do that. We can't do that manually and still stay sane. So we've automated everything using Chef, because Chef allows us to write code to configure and set up our servers. And at the moment, I'm extending a feature that allows us to monitor our databases a little bit more closely. And I've already implemented that, so I could actually go back to my issue here and update my workflow label from design. We are now at least at the implementation stage. But actually, I think yeah, we are at least in the implementation stage. Let's switch to implementation. So there are a few things that we need to correct first. So there's a style issue. These double quotes are in turn part of a string, so I should turn them into single quotes. That's in the MySQL D exporter recipe, line 29. We can go there and go to 29. And back here, I can simply say replace my double quotes with single quotes. And then we have all these don't repeat descriptions. That's RSpec repeated description. And we'll have to disable that, because with Chef, there's always going to be these repetitions. And so in our Rubocop YAML, we'll have to write an exception to disable this cop or test, as it's called. It's the RSpec repeated description, so it should be above S. And I'd like it to be not enabled. And I think it would be a good idea to have the description in there as well, so just that people know why it's disabled. Maybe also add a comment why it's disabled. So let's see, RuboCop. Oh wait, what am I doing here? RuboCop. I'm automatically typing copy. Interesting. Muscle memory. rspec / repeated description. That's that. Let's simply copy this as the description. I think I'm going to simply add a comment field, even though that's not part of RuboCop here. Unavoidable. Let's see how far we'll get now. Does not support decryption and comment. Okay. But it was just a warning, so we can actually fix the description line, and, well, that's unfortunate. So, I'll at least explain things in my git commit then. Kent asked, can you give me some software name for beginners in programming? Is there something you're interested in particular? Give me something to work with here. Okay. Oh, rake test failed. Could not find cookbook chef cookbooks. What's happening? Did I type chef cookbooks? Wait. Oh yeah. That's where I need to look. And tests are already ongoing here. So let's go to this window and clear this so I don't get confused again. This is going to run for a few minutes because it needs to set up quite a few virtual machines, install Chef and then run Chef on them, and Chef then will in turn install packages, set up configuration files and all kinds of stuff, as it's supposed to do. So this is a test suite that's usually going to run much slower or for much longer than, say, a web application based on Rails or something. Rotten Bite asked, not using Docken? No, we did actually try out Docken and used it for a while, but we ran into limitations, for example, for cookbooks that make changes to IP tables and things like that, because yeah, changes on the kernel level are limitations where you run into problems using Docker, and that's why we actually are running our test suite in KVM. Looks like I switched on my fan in time because we've not yet gone over the 25-degree limit in my little office here. Lots of successful tests. You love to see it. And we're already in the end stage here, testing the MySQL side of things, first in Ubuntu 16 and then in Ubuntu 20. Great. I love the cool air coming from the fan. PC's also doing nicely, as you can see up there. We are oscillating around the 60-degree mark here. That's fine. Actually, no, Rotten Bytes, I did not use the autocorrect because it was just a single location where I had to fix the quotes, and it's debatable if entering Rubocop-A would have been much faster than simply doing a change quotes in Vim. And the other bunch of error messages were all from an RSpec related cop that simply doesn't apply to Test Kitchen. Even though Test Kitchen is based on the RSpec syntax, it extends it in a way that leads to constantly repeated example names, because there are actually not example names. So I had to disable that cop. Let me show that to you quickly. Here is where I disabled them, and the complaint came from this test here, where, as you can see, the it statement here is not actually used as an example name for a specific test example. It is actually referencing the test that is part of the describe block up here. So I'm doing a HTTP request here in testing, and the status of this request, of the response actually, should be 200, and the body should meet these two conditions. And as you can see, I'm actually forced to repeat the its body part. Because, yeah, that's not meant as an example name, and Rubocop is not tracking that. And we're done successfully, no errors. As you can see, if I list my test VMs, they are all removed already, because they get cleaned up after a successful test. So that means I can actually commit everything in my current directory. That's the main change. And I'll actually do a full commit message here. That is a feature. The scope is the Prometheus X cookbook, and the description is additional arguments for MySQL exporter. This time the auto-suggestion does actually work in order to, or the mu would work too. MySRE exporter requires additional command line arguments to fetch metrics from specific table spaces such as information schema. This change adds a node attribute to define those. That's that, which leaves our Rubocop commit, and we'll add that as well. Muscle memory again, and in this case I'll make it nope, I'll do another full that's I would call it chore. Rubocop, yep, thank you. Disable RSpec repeated, what was it called? Repeated description. Since test kitchen extends RSpec syntax in a way that doesn't use its in particular. As that doesn't use its to pass in an example name. We have to disable this cop. That's that. Yeah, Rotten Bytes, you're right. It wouldn't have been autocorrectable anyway. Actually, by the way, I'm really happy about my typing speed because I'm actually using my split keyboard, and I've been struggling for a while because I kept changing my layout to tweak my typing performance. And I think I've finally found a layout that works with my fingers and my muscle memory. And I'm really having fun typing on this now. I've been typing on it for more than a week, and hadn't had the urge to replace it with a monolithic keyboard, and so that's pretty great. I'm actually tempted to give Colmac DH another try, simply to throw me off completely off the game again, but also to make sure that I still can type without pain in 10 years' time. And I think I might be able to pull this off by using Colmac on my split keyboards and still sticking with QWERTY on my monolithic and staggered keyboards. So my brain has a way to distinguish the two. Because I don't want to get confused when I'm typing on a laptop keyboard, for example. Alright, so that is that. Everything has been committed, and I think we can push this. And there's already a link to create a merge request, so let me actually follow this link. Oh, that got me to a different window than I wanted to, so actually I'm going to copy this way. Nice. And let's simply copy what we had here. Assign this merge request to me. Give Moo some work. And the workflow label needs to be switched to review now. How is it possible to have two labels on here? That shouldn't be possible. That's a bug in GitLab. And create a merge request. All right. Bethzar commented, I have enough issues readapting between a standard and my ortho. I'm actually doing quite well switching between traditional keyboards and my split orthos. And thanks to my new split layout, things are going really great. I really like it. I ditched home romance completely because that timing I was never able to really make this work without issues, without straining my backspace finger all the time because I kept making errors all the time. And so yeah. Left-hand bottom row standard keys. Okay, interesting. So the ZXCV keys. I think part of why it's working for me is that I actually created or put the control variants of these keys for cut and paste and undo and such as an actual function on my navigation layer, so I can actually press the navigation layer key and V, and I get the control V combination, and the same goes for X and Z and Z, and that way cut and paste and stuff is very convenient without having to first press the control combination and then V or things like that. Which is a little bit more convoluted in my case because I opted for one-shot modifiers. Okay. One-shot modifiers means I can press the key that's assigned the control function and release that key. The control function gets held until can't speak anymore. Until I press another key, and then both get then sent as the control combination. So I press the control combination first, and then say C to do a control C. But control V, X, and Z are on their own key combination, so I don't have to press an actual sequence. That's definitely a quality of life improvement. And if you are asking yourself or me why I'm using one-shot modifiers, it'll allow me to switch layers in between. So I can use the control one-shot on one layer and then switch to a completely different layer and press F4 or something like that. And it'll result in control F4 actually. Balthasar is right, actually. I should visualize that. Let me see. How do I show that off? What is it called? Key map visualizer? Is there something? Key map drawer. Yay! That's what I was looking for. Key map drawer. would have to enter all this YAML. But still, nice. I haven't used this yet. I just saw it mentioned on Discord yesterday or so. I can? Yes, of course. Parse from QMK key map. And ZMK key map, actually. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Number of columns, that's optional. So let me see if I can actually pull in my current key map. That would be amazing. Home. Where's projects? Why isn't it sorted? Pictures. Why is projects down here? Source, GWiz, QMK, user space, keyboards. At the moment, I'm using the board source Lulu. And what file is it? Oh, it's damn! It's looking for JSON files. I haven't yet converted my key map to JSON. It's still a C file. That's unfortunate. One more reason to convert it to JSON, though. Anyway, I'll at least show you the documentation. So, most of my keyboards use, well, yeah, almost all of my my keyboards use the QMK open source firmware, and I have one keyboard that uses ZMK, which is a variant of QMK, especially for Bluetooth-based or for Bluetooth keyboards. And QMK is raw software. You could call it raw software that runs on the keyboard. Each of these custom keyboards have their own CPU built on them. It's actually an MPU, so some kind of Arduino-based processor. And you can program these on a very low level, which is why traditionally QMK is done in C. And I can actually show you how this looks like, because I think, yeah, I have my user space repository already in Tmux. And if I go full screen, you can actually see how this works. This is a C file with my current key map. That's also a way to visualize it, isn't it? You can see that there are multiple definitions, and those are the layers that I'm using on this keyboard. The Lulu has a bunch of alphanumeric keys and a bunch of thumb keys as well. And that's actually why I've structured my code this way. You can see here, that's the left half, that's the right half, and they have these alphanumeric keys, and down here are 4 thumb keys as well. And thumb keys are actually what makes split linear keyboards so powerful, because your thumbs are basically your strongest fingers, and you can actually use them to something useful instead of just hitting the space bar all the time. As you can see, for example, this innermost thumb key is defined as KC, which means key code, LSFT, which is left shift, which means if I press this innermost thumb key, I'm pressing shift. If I'm pressing the right innermost thumb key, I'm pressing SPC, which stands for space. The other thumb keys mostly have a different function. That's why this starts with LY, because they switch between layers. So if I press this second thumb key here on the left side, I'm actually activating the navigation layer. which is down here, the third one down here. And on this navigation layer, you can actually see that this left home row, which is the ASDFG keys, they have this OS, L GUI, L Alt, L Control, and L Shift, which are the left modifiers for GUI, Alt, Control, and Shift. And they are one-shots, which means if I press the navigation thumb key, it activates the navigation layer. And for example, if I then press D, that activates Control as a one-shot, which means it gets held until I press another key. And now I can release my thumb key, go back to my default layer, and for example press O, and that results in the keyboard sending Control O. And that way I don't have to use specific keys for, or reserve specific keys for the modifiers. I don't have to assign a key to the Control modifier, another key to the Alt modifier, another key to the GUI modifier, even though I don't really press GUI all that often. I press Alt even less than Super, actually. And as you can see, I'm trying to limit myself to a actually to a 5x3 grid. I'm already leaving out the outermost keys. Those are X'd out, which means they don't have any function. And actually, I'm also not using actively the number keys up here. I could actually X them out as well. And that way, I'm limiting the distance I'll have to go with my fingers, which has ergonomic benefits. It also requires a little bit of ingenuity to still get hold of all the key functions. And that's why I've put my modifier keys on a separate layer as one-shots. So I can enable this layer, press the modifier, release that layer again, and then press whatever I want to do. I could even do something, and that's what I wanted to refer to earlier. I could go into the navigation layer and press the one-shot control key, and then use a different combination to go down here to my adjust layer, and then, for example, press the R key to get F4, and that way I would get Control F4. But as you can see, I've added these modifiers to this layer as well, so I don't actually have to jump between layers all the time. In this case, I can actually go directly to this adjust layer, press D to get control, and then since this is actually not a one-shot, that's just the control key, I need to simultaneously press R to get F4, and that way I can then actually issue Control F4. So I'm using a mix of one-shots and non-one-shots. I think actually, yeah, only on my number layer and on the navigation layer I'm using one-shots. Otherwise they are just the pure modifier key that gets released when I actually release a key. Okay, let's catch up with chat now that I've confused everyone completely. Balthasar said, I picked up this 3x3 keyboard that I'm interested in turning into a macro pad. Yep, makes sense. Want to figure out how to mod the firmware to customize the ID the keyboard shows up as. Should be possible, at least if it's QMK. You'll be able to modify that as well, I'm pretty sure. I've never gone down to the keyboard definition files that actually define what kind of MCU the keyboard has or what USB ID it'll display or things like that. But it's definitely possible because that's what the keyboard designers do. And that will enable Balthasar to write UDEV rules to only allow specific apps to use the keyboard. Yep. Mm-hmm. Because you can make UDEV rules depending on the USB ID. So if you have any more questions on my mechanical keyboard addiction, let me know. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my current layout. And yeah, now I need to decide if I want to change all these key definitions here to the Colmac DH format, which would mean this row would not stay ASDFG, it would become ARST, still G? ARST still G, yeah. Mm-hmm. So just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, the Colmac layout is basically a layout that wants to be a layout that is actually sensible, because QWERTY doesn't actually make sense if you're not building a typewriter, in terms of how often the keys get hit, or the combinations of keys that are hit in sequence. And Colmac tries at improving on that quite a bit. So that's the Colmac layout. And as you can see, for example, the vowels are mostly in the middle row where your fingers rest, the so-called home row. And that just makes sense because of how much you have to press them during the day. But that would mean quite the change. I've tried it twice already and more or less failed, or at least aborted the experiment. You'll definitely learn on this channel if I'm going to pull the trigger, or if I did pull the trigger and switch to Colmac, at least on my split keyboards. Now, keyboards were never planned as a topic for today. I wanted to do Ruby stuff. There's actually a alternative firmware that actually uses Ruby to define a keyboard layout. So instead of using QMK, you could use, I don't remember what it's called, but it's based on Ruby, and you will actually execute Ruby on your custom keyboard. I've never tried it, but I watched I think it was a RubyConf talk about it, or a RubyKagi talk over in Japan. Okay, so going back to Ruby, what are we going to do next? You know what? I've been going at this for more than 90 minutes now, so what we are going to do next is take a little bit of a break, so I can actually do a little bit of stretching and get myself something more to drink. And I'll be back in 5 minutes. See you then. And I'm back. So, let me grab my bottle. Something that I also wanted to do was give my Rails application a little bit of TLC and do a little more frequent changes to it, because at the moment I'm touching that code base every other month or so, and it feels like I'm starting all over again every time, which is unsatisfactory, let's put it this way. And so I thought, yeah, I wanted to do something for quite a while, and that is add notifications to that app so that we can actually inform customers of maybe something they've done in the dashboard itself, so that they get a notification that some action has been triggered or something like that. But also, well, I'd like to go beyond what the Rails feature called Flash is giving me, which allows me to display a notification on the next screen after, for example, submitting a form, where they can get some kind of a status message that their change has been submitted or something like that. That's already in there. I'm thinking of notifications more in the way that notifications can actually come in while people are not using the dashboard application, and then get them displayed when they click the bell icon as per usual. Something like that. And for that, there is actually at least one gem, probably more than one, that can deal with that. And the gem I'm thinking about is called Noticed, by Chris Oliver, the creator of the Go Rails tutorial website. And I think I'm actually going to watch that, the related video, to simply get a feel for how the Noticed gem works. Now, let me check if this is a public video or if it's only available via my subscription, because that will determine if I can show it on stream or not. Because of course I'm not going to stream and also stream a video that is supposed to be paid for, and then publish that in my stream recording on YouTube. So, why can't I get a private window here? Oh, that's because private windows work differently in Firefox, don't they? No, yeah, here we go. Private browsing. If I go here, well, that seems to be a YouTube video, actually. Yep, it is. Okay. So, in that case, let me close this. Let me go to YouTube. Am I logged in here? No? Okay. I guess I'll sign in as Monospace Mentor then. Security key. There we go. All logged in. And I think... let's skip the advertisement. And then I'll go to my browser sharing scene. Just a second. Okay, So I need a new shampoo. Okay. I did actually take a shower, YouTube. Here we go.
Hey guys, in this video I'm going to walk you through adding notifications to your Rails app using the Notice gem. This is a gem that I created recently, kind of based off of some things that I've seen around. Like
Bye, Rotten Bites. Thanks for stopping by.
What Basecamp is doing and what some of the other gems are doing as well. So Noticed is really easy to add, but basically it's designed so that you create notification classes and you tell them all the different options that they're allowed to deliver with. So that comes down to things like databases, emails, Action Cable, WebSockets, Slack, Twilio, Vonage, SMS, anything.
Okay, so this goes far beyond what I had in mind, actually. I assume database means it'll simply store notifications in the database, so you can get them in traditional ways. You can simply do a select from that database and get all the notifications for a specific user, probably tracking if they've been seen before or not. But actually, you can also go far beyond that by actually going out of the web application itself and sending these notifications via email. You can send them via Action Cable, which would mean you could even trigger notifications from an API endpoint, and notifications would then immediately appear on the user screen if they are logged in at the moment. And you can also use Twilio or Vonage or Nextmode to send SMS. So this goes beyond what I had in mind, but having the option of using these additional channels is, of course, pretty neat.
You can imagine you can build a delivery method for it and then add that to your notifications. So very simply, you'll want to bundle add notice to add it to your gem file. Then you can add the database model. This will generate an active record notification model for you and include the functionality from Noticed and allow you to extend it and add things. Like if you want to make your notifications multi-tenant, you can do that, which is cool. And then you can go ahead and generate notifications. So I've got an application here with a notification created, and I wanted to walk you through the notification and how to use it. Now, first off, I want to talk about how to send notifications because this will inform some of the customization for you. First off, you got your class that is defined under app notifications. Ours is called new comment.rb. So inside of here, we have our class new comment, and you call it very similar to your action mailer emails. You say with, you give it some params. Those are available inside of your comment class as params. And then you can call deliver later. And the cool thing is you can either give it a single user or multiple.
So this basically emulates the way that background workers work in Rails, where you can call a deliver later method that will, for example, then send an email in an asynchronous way. Your web application keeps doing its stuff, and the actual work of delivering an email is delegated to a background worker that does this concurrently while the web application is doing other stuff. And these notifications work the same way. So this deliver later means this also gets run in a background job, I would assume, and not have any immediate effect on the running web application at all.
Users, and it will
if you don't implement that, actually.
Trigger background jobs to deliver all of those accordingly. Of course, if you want to deliver them immediately, you can call deliver instead of deliver later.
Okay, makes sense. And that way, if it's not something that you'd like to queue in as a background job, you can run deliver and it gets done immediately Uh, I guess it makes sense to default to deliver later.
And that will send them in line. Now, the class where you define your comment notification in this example is where all of the real magic is happening on how it gets routed. So first off, you add your delivery methods. The database one's a little bit special. Normally, you're going to be adding notifications to your database so that they can be rendered in the nav bar or on a special notifications page. Most of the time when you do them to your database, you also want to let the user know via email, SMS, Slack, maybe you want a browser notification. And it's as simple as saying deliver by and the name of your delivery method. So
that is pretty neat too. So you can actually go the traditional route here, dump everything to the database to be retrieved later, but you can also use another adapter probably to email it or to even post it to a chat platform. That is pretty neat.
In this example, we could add action cable support by just saying deliver by action cable. Now, each of the methods generally has a format option where you can say to a action cable, for example, and then you can say def to action cable and define a hash here that you want sent over action cable to override the built-in format. It's as easy as that. We have an example.
Let me just go back because that is a pretty neat and exemplary way to do object-oriented design. The action cable delivery method is already implemented in the notice gem, and it is already wired in a way that the to action cable method gets called. And or is that the format here, to action cable? Chris just sounded like that's already there and needs to be overridden by our. So it's defined in notice base, but needs to then be overridden in new comment to have actual business logic. And that's a good way to do things, to wire up stuff behind the scenes in a base class, maybe even in an abstract base class that isn't directly usable. And then in your own derived child class, you then breathe some life into these abstract methods so they can actually do something.
To override the built-in format. It's as easy
as
built
in.
that. We have an example here for the database version, and we can simply add an account into the default params. So by default, it's going to write these database attributes that we return from this method. So we're going to write the class name as the type, the params to the params column. That column is serialized using the active job serializer, so it can store pretty much anything in there and pull it back out as long as it's got, global ID.
I just noticed that we are running an ad, so I'll pause for not only not even a minute, so people can actually, so people don't miss anything. Found the mute button just in time. I would have blown your eardrums out. I'm interested in that current class, or at least constant here, because that is odd. Curious, at least. All right, let's continue and see if Chris will actually explain what current means in this context.
Support or anything like that. And then we can also add in something like this where we can add the account if you want to make your notifications multi-tenant and separate them out by tenants, which is pretty neat. So then we can add requirements. So our params can be flexible, but if we want to require certain params, very similar to strong validations, you can say, hey, this is a param that's required, the post param, and this will throw an error if you call delivered or deliver later when post is nil. So if you left that out for some reason and just sent with and it was empty, it would throw an error of validation error. Now another cool thing is that you will pretty much always want a message and a URL for your notifications. So we built helpers in the example, and this helper here is using the I18N translation helper so that it can translate the string, and if you prepend your key with a period, it's going to look in the notifications dot notification name dot whatever your key is. So this would look for a translation called en.notifications.new comment, and this piece comes from the class name. It's converted to the underscored version, and then it would look for the message key. So this is really, really handy for scoping those out accordingly in your
Balthazar just wrote, you probably want to define cohorts so messages can be sent to multiple people without having to replicate those messages. That will probably depend on implementation, because you want to be able to track the seen status of these notifications on a per user basis. So one way to do that, of course, is to actually replicate the messages. But yeah, I can see why, of course, data volume might be a reason you actually don't want to do that. We'll see. We'll maybe see how Chris went about this.
Translation files. Then the URL is also another thing I want to mention. This links to the post path. We want that to be singular, actually. And all of your URL helpers are available to you in these classes as well. We wanted to make this feel like you were in a controller or someplace in Rails that was, pretty standard. And so we've included all those things to make these really easy to write, so you can get exactly the data that you need to send out your notifications. Now, all of this is important to say because your notification formats are different. If you're writing it to the database, you just want to store the stuff in there. But if you're sending an email, you need to generate a subject, a body. You might have other, CCs or other things. Maybe you want attachments or something. There's a lot of extra information that you might want in different cases. And so that's why we've made it easy to customize the formats for those. So all you have to do is dive into your application and call new comment and deliver a notification. So let's take a look at adding a notification in our application. So we've got a user model, and we want to make sure that we have as many notifications as recipient on it, so that way our user can retrieve those notifications. The notification model is added directly to our app when we run the generator, and that's going to use this include notice model to add all the functionality to it. So we can improve that as we update the gem automatically for you, but you can still extend this if you want to say it belongs to account or something to add multi-tenancy with like the access tenant gem. So you could add this kind of stuff to your notification model, and it's not going to affect how the gem works, which is great. So let's go to our terminal. Let's open up the Rails console, and let's try and send a new comment notification. Now we want to call with, but let's say we passed in no attributes here and try and deliver that to the last user. If we do that, we're going to get a noticed validation error that our post attribute was missing, our post param was missing. So we can then know that our validations worked, and we can say post is whatever. Now if you had a post model, could actually pass in an instance here of that. If it is serializable using global ID, it will be serialized and saved to the database, which is awesome. It makes this really, really easy to associate with a bunch of other models. But in our case, let's just say we'll write a number in here and send that over. What this is going to do is fire off the background jobs in line. So you're going to see it performing and the active job stuff, but it's using perform now to run these.
which means since Chris used deliver and not deliver later, it'll not serialize stuff for a background worker to pick up and then do all this stuff. Instead, the body of what would have been the background worker job gets executed immediately, and therefore the database delivery happens immediately, which seems to be the only action here.
And it's going to insert that notification into the database. So now I want to render out those notifications, and we can do that by rendering the current user.notifications array. So on our index page for notifications, I'm rendering notifications, but if we go to the controller, we'll see here that we have current user.notifications. That's all we're doing, very standard Rails.
And that also tells us that the notifications actually get created on a per user basis. So if there is a notification that you would like to send to all your users or to a company and all their team members, each of these team members will have their own notification in the notifications table, and therefore you can then query their specific notifications using current user.notifications, which means more data volume in your table, more churn in this regard, but of course the ease with which you then can retrieve these notifications on a per user basis can't be beat.
Stuff. And if we go to the notification html.erb, we can print out that notification message. So we have our notification database object as notification, and we can actually cast that to the notification instance itself, and we can call those helper methods that we defined inside of new comment. So this is going to actually call this method, and we can use that to generate a link to. So let's use that as the title of our link, and then let's use the notification to notification.url to call the URL. Now, I haven't done anything fancy here. We're just going to link to the root path to keep this example simple, but you could link to one of your params. So now if we refresh this, we're going to see that we get a translation missing. It's going to look for that translation, but it actually creates a link to the root path. So then we can go into our en.yaml file, and we can add a section in here, notifications, and add our new comment and message. And we can just say you have a new comment. And you can include other things like on post, and you can add parameters into this if you want. We don't have any of those in this example, so it's going to be very simple. You have a new comment. And so this can link out to your post or whatever the comment was on. So that is how you would go and set up your database notifications and render them out. You can add them to your nav bar, and all of those other options are available to you. So you can add mailers, send them out in a very similar fashion, and you can have those available anywhere you need them to be. So that is where I'm going to wrap this up. If you want notifications just completely built out automatically for you, take a look at Jumpstart Rails. I've built this specifically for that template so that you don't have to worry at all about building out your Rails views or anything. We have all the JavaScript, the emails and that sort of thing, just kind of ready to go for you if you want to use a pre-built template that has notifications, payments, multi-tenancy, and all that ready. Take a look at jumpstartrails.com.
Which is a great way, of course, to build an open source business model, which Chris has done in multiple ways. One of them is selling Jumpstart, which is a Rails template, which means Rails plus many extensions, the Notice gem, including all the plumbing included, and Chris charges a yearly maintenance fee from you to use his Jumpstart template. Jumpstart is a great way to actually literally jumpstart a Rails application when you want to have everything already built in. I think he also has the paid gem, for example, built in for payment processing and all kinds of stuff that you want to have in a Rails application that you're using for business purposes. And the maintenance fee is actually pretty reasonable, so you get definitely your money's worth there.
And that is it for this introduction for Noticed. I hope it is useful. I really like the way that this turned out, and I hope it allows people to add notifications a million times easier to their apps as well. Take a look at our GitHub if you want to keep up to date with this. We're going to be adding new features and fixing bugs and all that sort of stuff actively over the coming months. And if you want to support it, go ahead and sponsor the project on GitHub. That'll allow me to put more effort and time into this stuff, and that way I can pay my bills and, spend more time helping the community build awesome apps together. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the GitHub issues, I'm sure. See ya.
Well, that's neat. Yeah, this is definitely something that I'd like to use. Now let me give this a thumbs up and go back to Go Rails, where I'll mark this as completed, but pretty sure there is a follow-up to this as well, isn't there? There is a no, there is no follow-up actually. There are a few older Go Rails videos on in-app navbar notifications, for example, but since they are many years older than the video we just watched. Yeah. You know what? I probably should try and sort these by date. Can I do that? I don't think so. So let's... I can show you what's on here, actually. Just to showcase Go Rails and encourage you to subscribe to it as well. If you are a Ruby, or especially if you are a Rails developer, Go Rails is definitely worth the monthly fee. So, what we've just watched was from 2020. Let's see. There's another one. Advanced Flash messages with buttons and actions. Okay. That's September? This one was August, so there's a chance that this does use the Notice gem as well. What if you wanted to add buttons like you see in most applications? It's easier than you might think. Let's take a look at the source code quickly. Interesting. I'm always interested in how other teachers make their stuff available. So this is a full repository with a Rails app. Okay, nice. Okay. Okay. How would I see if this is a pro video? Because, yeah, this is marked as pro. So I can't show that on stream, unfortunately. In here I can't see that, right? There's no tag or label. Unfortunate. Okay. So I have to check before I click into each video. guess I'll have to watch that off stream. Because I think that would be a sensible next step once you have set up your notifications in the database using the notice gem, preferably. Then I would like to actually use the built-in flash feature of Rails, but for example with a button that you can mark the notification as seen and therefore avoid having it displayed again. I guess this is a reasonable next step. Okay, great. Now, what does that mean in terms of the feature that I want to build? Well, I think that would make sense to have something like that. Some of these notifications would be triggered by the by the user doing specific stuff, triggering responses from the application that then get rendered as a notification. And in the future, we could also do stuff behind the scenes that create notifications which the user gets displayed once they log back in again. Both will be very useful for us. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely something that I want to pursue a little bit more and maybe start implementing in one of my upcoming streams. Speaking of upcoming streams, this week there will be only one more stream, and that's going to be on Thursday afternoon, another live coding stream, probably also dedicated to Ruby stuff, because there will be no office hour on Friday afternoon, because by then I will already be in Hamburg for Ruby Unconference, for Ruby Unconf, I think, as it's called. Let me actually get that on screen if you're interested. Ruby Unconf Hamburg 2024, there it is. Wait, that's the wrong one. That's the one from 2023. Let's switch that to 2024. Nice. So, yeah, that's... Oh, we are broken. Why is this broken? Give it just a second. I did test this before the stream, but for some reason it doesn't work anymore. Just a second. Where's my browser window? Yes, that's wrong. So, yeah, that one. Actually, okay, bada bing. Here we go, Ruby Unconf. Over the weekend in Hamburg, I'll be there, and I'll try to be as motivated as possible beforehand. That's why I'm going to do another live coding stream with Ruby stuff on Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, I'm off getting my flight to Hamburg, and on Saturday and Sunday, I'll be at the what was the venue called? Location at the HAW Hamburg Finkenau, and yeah, on Monday I'll be traveling back home. So I've actually reserved 2 travel days just to not strain myself too much, and to leave myself a little bit of time to do some thinking and reading and stuff that you do when you're traveling. So yeah, I'll be able to report back on Ruby on Conf, then on Tuesday next week at the same time as today, 1 p.m. UTC will be when I'll be back next week from Ruby on Conf, hopefully with even more motivation to do Ruby stuff, to do another Ruby Tuesday next week. That being said, there's still more stuff to do, and I hope you'll join me on Thursday for a little bit more, a few more Ruby shenanigans. And if you'd like to join us on our Discord server, please feel free to do so. It's a nice place with friendly people, and I'd love to chat with you over there in between streams. I hope to see you again on Thursday at 1 p.m. UTC for another live coding session. And until then, have a great time. Take care.